Hello, everyone. Welcome. So first off, congratulations. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. Nomination to Broadcom Masters is a huge accomplishment, and we are thrilled that you have taken the next step in the process by opening an application. So I'm Reva Ramadorai, the Program Manager of the Broadcom Masters, and I'm here with my colleague, Erin Cummins.
Hi.
Erin and I are responsible for the Broadcom Masters program, and you will receive emails from us throughout the application process. This session is being recorded so that other students who cannot join us today can also hear this information. So today we're going to talk to some Broadcom Masters alumni who were finalists in 2017. But before we get started, I wanted to give you a quick synopsis of the Broadcom Masters program itself. So Broadcom Masters is a program of the Society for Science in the Public, which is the organization that Erin and I work for. The Society is a nonprofit dedicated to public engagement in the scientific community. The Society for Science in the Public also runs 3 distinguished science competitions. The first is the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair, which is the world's largest international pre-college science competition and is open to high school students. Next, the Regeneron Science Talent Search is the nation's oldest and most prestigious science and math competition for high school seniors. Finally, we have the Broadcom Masters competition, which is the one that you have been nominated for. The Broadcom Math, Applied Science, Technology, and Engineering Rising Stars, or Masters, is the premier national science fair-based competition for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. In order to qualify, a student must place within the top 10% in a society-affiliated science fair. 30 Broadcom Masters finalists have the opportunity to spend a week in Washington, D.C., showcasing their research projects and competing as teams in hands-on STEM activities. Last year, we recorded several webinars to walk you through the application process and answer your questions. You can find these in the Video Resources tab in your Fluid Review account. So now, without further ado, let's meet our alumni. So today we are speaking with 2017 finalists Faris Wald and Meghna Behari. Meghna is having some technical difficulties on her end as well, so hopefully she'll be joining us soon, but right now we have Faris with us here. And they're here to talk to you about their experience as Broadcom Masters finalists, share their advice for you as nominees throughout this process, and also to answer your questions. So first, I'll give a little overview of Faris. Faris is from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and he won the Samueli Foundation Prize, which is our top award, for his project titled The Correlation Between Solar Coronal Hole Occurrences and the Formation of Tropical and Extratropical Cyclones. Faris was always curious about the sun and its effect on our planet, and his project studied the relationship between the formation of tropical storms and certain types of solar activity, such as coronal holes. After analyzing data from government-funded websites, Faris ultimately found a positive correlation between coronal holes and cyclones. Faris also plays the clarinet and plays baseball. Hey, Faris.
Hello.
So hopefully Meghna can join us, but I'll give you her bio as well. So Meghna is from Samueli, Pennsylvania, and won the Samueli Award for Innovation for her project titled Aquabot, an integrated modular platform for testing and monitoring surface water quality. After learning about the high levels of contamination in waterways close to her home, Meghna created an automated water quality testing device that could be easy to use for both scientists and concerned citizens alike. Meghna's device included a GPS module to track the time, date, and location of readings, and she also created a smartphone app to receive and record the data. Meghna also loves to play the violin, sing, and participates in track and other sports at school. So like I said, hopefully Meghna can join us soon, but we'll just go ahead and get started asking Faris some of our questions. So Faris, can you explain how you decided on the subject for your project?
Well, the way I got into my project was I was watching the Weather Channel. I do this early in the morning because I get up pretty early, and on the Weather Channel, the weather people, I forgot the name, weathermen, especially Stephanie Abrams, talked extensively about the power of these storms and how immense and amazing they are. A couple days later, I was watching, I believe, a NOVA documentary, and it talked about the sun and how powerful it is. So I decided to connect two and two together and create this science fair.
Great, thanks, Faris. So what made you decide to apply to the Broadcom Masters? What were some of the difficulties you encountered in the application, and how did you overcome them?
Well, it took me a while for me to get the, well, I first knew about the Broadcom Masters competition when I was nominated to go. I didn't really know what the competition was until I did further research on it. And it took me a while to decide whether or not I want to go or not. I was very hesitant, but after some thinking, I decided to do the application. From there, the application was pretty streamlined in all honesty. Most of the questions were pretty simple and, were based on your science fair. Like, what was the question of the science fair? Because, you basically had all the tools and resources to answer all the questions. You didn't really think. The hardest part was the word limit. In all honesty, the word limit was pretty hard. It took me a while just to find just the amount, just to give enough information, but in as little words as possible.
Yeah, we definitely know that the word limit sometimes is difficult for applicants to follow, but we're so glad that even though you were hesitant in the beginning, that you ended up persisting and completing your application, and it obviously paid off. So that's really great. So can you tell us a little bit about the other finalists? What did you think were qualities that elevate entrance to the finalist level?
Well, there's a lot to say about the finalists. They are amazing human beings, and I have to admit, I was very impressed by what they brought. Their science fairs were amazing, and they're just as equally amazing people as well. They're extremely nice, and they share many of the same interests I have, and they're going to be some of the greatest people you meet. And as well, they're also the people that are going to be the leaders of the future. They're going to be the ones who fix the problems of tomorrow, not fix the problems of tomorrow. They are going to be the people who are sending people to Mars, who are stopping many of our issues, and so on and so on. And a quality that many of them possessed was the fact that they were very well-rounded. They weren't just focused in science, they were focused in a variety of fields. You have Meghna, who plays the violin, I play baseball. There was even one person who's a pilot. Basically, these people are well-rounded individuals who enjoy and love science and are just amazing human beings overall.
That was very well put, Faris. Thank you. So what advice do you have for some applicants who might be repeat applicants? And let's answer that question first, and then I'll follow up.
Okay. So for the repeat applicants, my best suggestion is to keep on trying and to keep on applying, because you never know what's going to happen, and you never know if you're going to become a Broadcom Masters. You've made it this far. Just keep on going and see how far luck will take you. And in the end, you may end up, it may play in your favor. So don't, keep on trying and don't stop. Pretty much.
Yeah, I would definitely echo those statements. You have nothing to lose by applying. So we hope that everyone here does end up submitting an application, and once you do, you are alumni of our program. So that's a great incentive. So Faris, my next question for you is, what advice do you have for students who are thinking of applying to Broadcom Masters but aren't sure? I guess it kind of goes along with what you just said, but any other thoughts?
Well, I was in the same situation. I was very hesitant to apply myself. To be honest, I waited to the very last second to apply because I was just very indecisive, and I just didn't know whether or not I wanted to do it. But after thinking, I realized I've made it this far, and it would be a shame to stop here. And plus, you never know. I didn't really expect myself to become, one of the top 30, but yet here I am. So do it, try it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So to, people who are very hesitant, just try it, and you never know what may happen.
Those are great words of encouragement. Thanks. So thinking back to finals week, I know you guys did so much throughout your time here in DC, but can you pinpoint maybe your favorite part of finals week and tell us why?
Ooh, it's going to be hard, to be honest. We did a lot of fun stuff. I can probably bring it down to two events. The first event would be when we went to the Chesapeake Bay, and it was this, I can't remember it quite well. It was a little, it's part of the Smithsonian, and they specialize in the environment, and it's by the Chesapeake Bay. And I remember we had to do a challenge, and one of the challenges was catching fish, and it was pretty fun because we caught a variety of fish, some big, some small, some krill. It was overall pretty fun, just to see and touch the fish. I'll never forget that. Another moment I will probably never forget was being at Capitol Hill. That was pretty cool to see all these landmarks and historic buildings, and to be like, it's just amazing because you always see these buildings in the movies, and then you're there in person, and it was pretty nice. And it was especially nice to spend time with many of the Broadcom finalists. They're, again, amazing people and pretty fun, overall, just fantastic people.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad to hear that you had a memorable time with us. So the next question I have is kind of general, but how has Broadcom Masters helped you grow? Can you think of any maybe specific skills that you learned from the whole process of filling out the application to coming to finals week and competing that you've used since your time with us?
There's many skills I've learned. One important skill is talking to adults and talking in public. It can be frightening at times, but because of Broadcom Masters, I've learned to overcome it. During Broadcom Masters, you have to talk to many adults, such as the judges, and especially during public hours, public viewing, where you have to talk to parents, children, and even PhD level scientists, and you have to learn how to be able to talk with them at their skill level. You also need to learn how to publicly speak. After I won the Samueli Foundation, I had to do many interviews, both for the Society for Science and the Public, as well as the New Mexican, my local newspaper, and even some news agencies like the Weather Channel, for example. And overall, that led me to be able to communicate better with people, and allowed me to be able to present to people much easier than I used to do.
Yeah, definitely. And you have had some great other opportunities to kind of grow in that arena. So that's great to hear that you value those skills that you've learned. We know that public day is a long day for you guys as finalists, but we're glad to see that, overall it paid off and you enjoyed the day as well. So another question I have is, in what ways do you think that you improved as a team member after participating in the Broadcom Masters team challenges? And maybe you can describe a little bit to the audience how you were grouped in teams and what you did throughout the week.
So Broadcom Masters is an interesting science fair. It's not like the conventional science fair where you have your board and you present. You do that during Broadcom Masters, but it's only for like one day. You have another 4 days, and during those 4 days, you're grouped in a team, and you're supposed to do different challenges, ranging from programming a robot to do something, programming like a light to turn on, a ball rolls past, to creating what you think a brain will look like in the next 2,000 years. And even a board game that exemplifies nutritional value, like how to eat right, especially focusing on the food pyramid. basically you have to work with a team, and it's paired in teams of, I believe, 5. And, you know, you just have to learn how to communicate and work together, and that makes the majority of your grading and can determine whether or not you, the main part of whether or not you become a Samueli Foundation or, you know, you get an award or not. It's very centralized on, being well-rounded. And because of the Broadcom Masters, I've learned to become more of a team member overall. And it's also given me like confidence to, you know, take charge and become a leader. Before Broadcom Masters, I was very hesitant, I have to be honest. But after that, I've learned to be more firm with my decision making and to not be hesitant. And that led to many opportunities, one of which would be being the catcher for the JV baseball team. When you're a catcher, you're basically the quarterback, and you have to lead your team through plays and so on. And I don't believe I'd be able to do that if it wasn't for Broadcom Masters.
Thanks, Faris. That's great to hear how you translated some of those skills that you learned through Broadcom Masters to other aspects of your life. So I think Meghna was able to join us. Meghna, are you there?
Yeah, I am. Sorry about the delay.
Oh, no problem. It's great to have you here. We are live. I don't know how much you've been able to catch on your end, but just to, get you introduced to everyone, I did give a little bit of bio about you, but would you mind explaining a little bit about how you decided on the subject for your project so that others can hear and get some inspiration from you?
Yeah, sure. So I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is in the western part of Pennsylvania. And around where I live, there was a lot of hydraulic fracturing activity going on, or fracking. And a lake that was really close to my home was becoming extremely contaminated. And everyone in my community was aware of this. And we all wanted to kind of come together and figure out a solution, because this was, a local lake that we all liked to go to and, have activities there. So I contacted one of the local water quality inspectors, and as I was talking to him about, what I could do to help kind of clean up the water around my area, he said that he indicated that the way that water quality inspectors and scientists, the way that they kind of, test for water and collect their data is really inconvenient. And so I kind of wanted to address that problem with my project. And also since I live in this area where there's a lot of fracking activity that leads to contamination, I kind of wanted to address that. And clean water is something that I want to help solve.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So one of the other questions that we asked Faris earlier, which I also want to get your take on, is what made you decide to apply to the Broadcom Masters, and what were some of the difficulties you encountered throughout the application process, and how did you overcome them?
So a few years before, my brother had applied to Broadcom, and we knew about the program through a family friend who had also applied. And my brother, he also made it to the national, or the finals event in DC. And the way that I saw how much it had, affected him in a positive way, and how much confidence he gained, and how much he learned, and how much fun he had, I definitely knew that when I was eligible or old enough, that I wanted to apply, because I just saw how much it was a life-changing experience for him. So when I qualified to apply, I definitely, I took the opportunity, because I saw how much that it, had helped him in his science career.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we are very happy to have you both. Moving on to one of the other questions we asked Faris, what was your favorite part of finals week, and why?
I think it was a combination of getting to know the finalists through the challenges, and also kind of getting to know, of these 29 other people who have the same interests, and working with them on these really challenging but, stimulating and extremely fun challenges throughout the week. So I kind of jumped in when Faris was talking about some of them, but, we got to kind of explore all different areas of science and just topics in general. And like you said, we got to do a lot of programming. We had to light up a little LED with a ball, and we got to go down to Georgetown and Georgetown University and complete a bunch of activities. And it was a lot of fun, and throughout that, working with my team and working with the other finalists on the other teams, I think it was really cool to see how we all kind of had, even though our goals may be different, we all had really similar interests, and our passion for science was all kind of coming together. And I just think that was really cool to kind of work with throughout the week.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's cool too.
Mm-hmm.
So the last question I have for you before throwing it back to Faris and having you both answer some questions is, what advice do you have for students who are thinking about applying but aren't sure? Faris kind of talked about how he was hesitant, but ultimately, there's nothing to lose. So do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Like, even when I was applying, I had no idea. Like, I didn't want to get my hopes up, and while I was applying, I just didn't try to set my hopes too high. But yeah, there's really nothing to lose, and while you're filling out the application, you can learn a lot about yourself also, and how to summarize your project, and it's really just showing who you are and how you are as a person overall. And you never know what it can lead to, and like Faris said, there's really nothing to lose. So if you're hesitant on doing it, I think you should just go for it, because you really never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Meghna. So lastly, before we open it up to taking questions that are coming in, I wanted to ask you both. We'll start with Faris. Faris, what have you been working on since Broadcom Masters?
Well, I've been working on a lot, to be honest. School, of course, takes up most of my time. I've been, working with bands, which is pretty nice, and I was in JV baseball. In the field of science, I've been doing a lot. As being a National Science Fair winner, you have some responsibilities to do. I've had to do multiple lectures for different people, some of which is like this organization called Solar Observers, where I had to help children with a project. Another was where I had to talk to my my old fifth grade teacher for Science Fair and say, you should be doing Science Fair, it's amazing. And just, trying to inspire more children to go into STEM. In regards to my science fair, I've been working on statistics and seeing whether or not I can improve it. And I'm also waiting for further data to come in regarding my science fair.
Very nice. Thanks, Faris. Meghna, what about you?
Pretty much the same as Faris said. Obviously, school has been really busy since it's my first year of high school. I've been taking advantage of all of the courses that they offer. So I've been having a lot of fun in all the large range of classes that they offer. In terms of science, I've been working on my own robotics team, both in school and out of school. And we've been going to competitions, and so that's also taking up a lot of time. And then as Faris said, I've been just talking to a lot of schools and kids who are coming up and deciding whether or not they want to do something like the science fair. So so like you said, I've been just giving talks to people and talking about my own experience. And then I'm also working this year. I worked on another project, still in the robotics area, and it was kind of also has to do with water. I was making another robot that can be used to aid and rescue in natural disaster situations. So that was kind of my science fair project for the year that I've been working on. And I'm still working on that, and I want to continue it over summer. So yeah.
Very very cool. It's great to hear that you both are continuing with your passions and also being proponents for STEM and science fair. So that's really great to hear.
Sorry, this is Erin. So now we're going to go ahead and take questions from you guys. I've been monitoring the chat. And so I've picked out a few questions. One of the questions that we've gotten quite a few of is, do you guys have any advice for sticking to the word limit? What did you do to help yourself condense your research into that 400 word or whatever it is limit for each question? Meghna, why don't you take this first?
Sure. So, yeah, that was definitely an issue that I went through, because when you're filling those applications out, you feel like everything is important, and you don't want to take out any information. But kind of how I got over that is I read it out loud, and if any information felt redundant or unnecessary to really get a complete understanding, then I just took it out. So if something didn't really need to be said in order for someone to understand the project, then I took it out if I needed to reach a word limit. And another thing that helped me was the one-page visual. I really took advantage of that, especially since I have an engineering project. So if I couldn't relate something as well as I wanted to in a written response, I made sure to include a picture or a diagram on the one-page visual.
Yeah, that's definitely a great tip. Faris, what about you?
Well, what I had to do to bring it down to the word count, it was hard, I have to admit. It took a while, not too long, but it was basically the most time-consuming aspect of the entire application. And what you have to do, in my opinion, is you need to find points that you find the most important, and isolate them. And anything else that's convoluted or is just redundant, just throw it out, delete it, and then from there you just go through and find out what you can take out, because sometimes you have a paragraph but you only need two sentences from it. There's also some tricks I learned. Like I don't think it counts numbers as words, so that's a suggestion. And read and just find points that you find the most important, that will get your point across about your project, and try to isolate them, and then everything else that's extraneous information you don't really need.
Thanks, Faris. Yeah, you all know how to answer these questions already. You've done, well at your science fair, so you have the answers. And like Meghna mentioned, talking out loud often does help, just getting those thoughts more concise and clear. So great advice from both of you. Erin, do you want to go ahead with another question?
So you guys talked about how, you have nothing to lose from filling out the application, but what actually made you decide to apply to Broadcom Masters? Was it a pushy teacher? Did you just see videos? What exactly made you apply? Meghna.
So I mentioned it earlier, but I had some friends, and my older brother had all applied earlier. And even, some friends and classmates who had applied and hadn't necessarily made it to the finals, they did tell me that even filling out the application really helped them condense their information and, kind of learn more about their project as they went along, in case they wanted to, present it somewhere else. And so, having friends and family and seeing how the experience helped them, I felt like I would get something out of it, even if it was small. So that's what really, actually made me apply.
Great. What about you, Faris? What made you apply?
What made me apply? Well, I was taught from a very young age to never let an opportunity go by, because you may never get the opportunity again. And this is basically, I saw this as an opportunity, and I was hesitant, but I realized that just do it. It took me a while, and I had to think, and I didn't really have, there was no outside factors. It was an opportunity, and I decided to take it, and, see what happens. I was a little hesitant, but, looking at how far I've come and the fact that I was nominated, I thought I had a chance, and I decided to do it. Because again, you can't really lose, you can only win. And I decided to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Great point. So another question we have is, do you have any advice on how to give a presentation?
Yeah.
Faris, you talked about this a little bit. Do you want to maybe share some tips that you learned from all the different experiences that you've had?
I just want to make I'm just going to say one quick thing before we take that question. So for anyone who's a little bit confused about the application, so you don't actually give a verbal presentation for the application. It's all written down. But when you get to be a finalist, you do get to finally give your presentation. So there is no oral part of the application. It's all written down. But yeah, go ahead, Faris, and tell us about what advice you have on giving a presentation.
We're giving a presentation. I've never really thought about that. When giving a presentation, my best advice is to relax. It sounds easy, but it's actually very complicated. You do get worked up after a while, and you do, when I'm worried or scared, I do stutter, but you just got to relax, take a deep breath in, and you realize that you are the presenter. You know what you're talking about. You know everything on, everything that you're presenting. You just got to relax, and, the people are not going to criticize you for being wrong. They're going to be there at your side, and they're nice. Once you realize that, everything becomes easy. Just relax, have a broad voice, a loud speaking voice, and just relax and have fun, because that's the most important part of it all.
Thanks, Faris. Meghna, what about you?
So yeah, like as Faris said, you really have to relax. And the judges aren't trying to trick you, and they really just want to get to know you and your passion for the project, and just to make sure that you know your stuff, and you do, since you did the project and you've already gotten that far. So at that point, it's really just about presenting the work that got you there. And everyone was telling me that the judges aren't trying to trick you, that they're nice, they just want to get to know you, and I really didn't believe it. And you may or may not believe me when I say it, but it's really true. And I remember talking to the judges. I was really scared when they were approaching me, but every time when they ended up walking away from my poster after they were done, I didn't feel like they had tried to trick me or that they were trying to interrogate me. I really just felt like I was having a conversation with someone who understands the field and just wants to know what you did.
Definitely, that's a great point to make. I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, Meghna, about the one-page visual aid. Do you have any tips about how to make a great visual aid?
So since I did an engineering project, that was actually really hard to pick which ones to put on that page, since there were so many parts of the development process and the final product that I could have put on there. But as I touched on earlier, if there was something I didn't feel like was really being relayed very well across in text, then I made sure to put a picture on it and add a little caption. That's important. I put some captions on a lot of my pictures just so that the people reviewing it would understand how it fits into your project. And then if you're not doing an engineering project, obviously having charts and graphs just to kind of enhance your data, put it more into a visual format, that really adds a lot. And yeah, definitely take advantage of that. I think that's really important, especially if you're doing an engineering or a project that has a lot of visual data.
Great, thanks, Meghna. Faris, what about you?
So for the visual aid, so to be honest, I didn't really focus that much on it. If we're referring to, I'm referring to the visual aid from the Broadcom application.
Yes.
What I basically did was, my project involves graphs, lots and lots of graphs, and all I did was shrink the graphs and just put it on my one-page visual aid. It wasn't really that hard. I only had like 5 or 6 graphs, and probably the hardest part was the caption, because after a while the caption became blurry. So I had to slightly work my dad a little bit just to get the caption just right, and then I submit the one-page visual.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to hear from both of you that kind of had a little bit of a different approach to the one-page visual aid. And Faris, that point that you made about kind of shrinking your graphs and trying to make the caption fit. It is just a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that the evaluators end up seeing. So you definitely want to try to put, the most pertinent information on there, but that's also visible, without having to zoom in. So that's a great point.
In general, what tips do you guys have for the application, and what do you think made your application stand out in hindsight, possibly? Faris. This is a tough one.
Yeah, honestly, I really don't know what made my application stand out. I saw so many great projects, especially during the slideshow presentation you had for the 300. The people who made to the 300 category, 300 finalists. I'm not really sure what made my project stand out, to be honest. I have my guesses, but I'm not really too positive, to be honest.
Okay. What about tips for the application? Just in general.
Tips for the application. Again, my best tip is for to just focus on the most important parts and be sure to be under the word limit. But if you can and you have a little room, try to emphasize those important parts. For the responses where it requires you to use critical thinking, put some thought into your responses. That's my best suggestion. There's one question about an astronaut, and if you were to visit an alien planet and you could only bring 3 gifts, what would you bring? I put a little thought to that because it's quite hard for me to think. Just as long as you put thought in your application, you will be fine.
All right, that's great advice. So we're going to take one last question, which we'll ask both of you. Which Meghna, how did you feel when you were named a finalist?
I actually remember exactly where I was when I got the call, but I remember that I felt kind of a mixture of pride and that's natural, but I also was nervous for some reason, which I think is just a natural reaction for me. But I can't even remember now what I was nervous about, but I remember the second that I arrived, all the nerves went away, and I honestly just kind of laughed. And I'm still, proud to say that I'm an alumni of the Broadcom Masters.
Yeah, definitely. It's a huge accomplishment. Faris, what about you?
I remember getting that first, I don't remember when I got the phone call, but I do remember how I felt when I got it. I remember picking up the phone and, I believe it was you, Aaron, who told me that I'm a finalist. And, well, when I first learned that, I was sort of at a loss for words. I didn't really expect to be the top 30 finalists. And I was, extremely excited. During the plane ride, though, to Washington, D.C., I was slightly nervous because I'm in a new situation. New people, and it was just I was a little nervous, but once I got to meet the finalists, all my fears went away.
Awesome. Well, we're so glad that I got to call you and that you became a finalist and were able to join us. So I think that just about wraps up our webinar for today. For those who are listening in and watching us, if we didn't answer your question about the application or about the competition in general, rather than those specifically directed at our alumni, If we didn't answer your question, feel free to email us at masters@societyforscience.org, and we will answer your questions there.
Yeah, and thank you all for joining us. Last words of encouragement. I think you all have the answers to the application. You know what to say. And so we hope that you end up, filling out your application and submitting. And we, hope to see some of you in the fall. So thanks for joining us. And sorry again about all the technical difficulties that we had. But we hope that you guys got some good information here. So.
All right. Thank you so much, Meghna and Faris.
Yes, thank you both.
No problem.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.